Thank you. And I am so thrilled to be here opening up the Commercialization Continuum as the Chief Commercialization Officer of the Department of Energy. And the mission for my department, which is the Office of Technology Transitions, or OTT, or the Otters, we're very friendly people over here, is to drive private sector uptake of clean energy technologies. Now that's a mouthful. What does that mean? We're trying to bridge research that's being done in labs across the entire nation, not just the 17 national labs that we have, and actually bring them to market. So technologies that scientists and engineers are developing, actually getting them into the hands of Americans to actually make a difference in the world. And as such, OTT is a steward of commercialization for the Department of Energy. We're helping DOE to achieve the commercialization mission across all of our partner program offices, across our 17 national labs, and most importantly, across the private sector in partnership with you. We are at the heart of public-private partnerships. And as you heard today, the tagline of this conference is government-enabled, private sector-led. And right now, we are at a tipping point for the society and the planet. And this is why Deploy23 is so critical. We have super bold targets. We want to get to carbon pollution-free power sector in 12 years. We want to get to net zero emissions economy in 27 years. So anyone who has children knows that after you have them, you blink an eye and they are 17 and they're fearless teenagers. So 12 years and 27 years is really not that old. And what's even crazier, suddenly you blink an eye and you're 50. I don't know how that happened either. So we can't help you with aging. We can't help you with the midlife crisis. But we can help you try to move faster in commercializing clean energy technologies because time is flying. And the way in which we can do that is through these monumental laws that were passed. We call it affectionately Uncle Bill and Auntie Ira. And between the two of them, we have $1 trillion that we can activate towards the clean energy transition. Now, the $1 trillion question, how do we use that money most effectively? And specifically, how do we use the $1 trillion to activate the $30 trillion in the US and the $200 trillion globally? And who has that money? All of you. So our role in terms of being a government and trying to activate all of you is figure out how do we use the money that we've been given to have the government enable the private sector, all of you, to take action. And anyone who does commercialization knows it's just not one organization that can commercialize. We all have to work together. There is no I in team. We need an ecosystem of scientists, innovators, entrepreneurs, capital providers, VCs, PEs, large private sector companies, the ones who really have the deep pockets. And we have to work together to move technology across the research, development, demonstration to deployment continuum, which is commercialization. We have to get every single person on the entire value chain to work together. So how do we do this? How do we get $1 trillion to activate $30 trillion? Well, for those of you who have kids, remember Dora the Explorer? She had a map. So we are creating a map. And this map is called Pathways to Commercial Liftoff. Raise your hand if you have heard of Pathways to Commercial Liftoff. Okay, yep, awesome. For those of you, keep clapping. For those of you who haven't, you're gonna be blown away. I will tell you that you can find that at liftoff.energy.gov. That's liftoff.energy.gov. And we've had tremendous outreach from people on this. Robinson Meyer was on the Ezra Klein show and said it's the best piece of industrial policy he's seen published from the federal government. But the big thing is HBS, one of my former students actually told me, HBS now has it as part of their reading in their energy course. And mind you, yes, that louder applause on that one. Mind you, that's the next generation, right? And we had just published the first ones 6 months ago. So the fact that we now are making it into course catalogs is great. And so the past year, OTT really has been leading this DOE effort on Pathways to Commercial Liftoff, which is really trying to figure out what are the barriers that are preventing us getting all this amazing technology to market. Many senior leaders, like myself, come from the private sector. I have a past experience as an ex-McKinsey partner. Don't hold that against me. We have David Crane, who used to be a CEO, Jigar Shah, Julia from Maersk, many of us. And if you had asked any of us 3 years ago, is it on your vision board to go work for the federal government, we would all be like, no, where did you find me? Which is literally the conversations that we had. But what I have to tell you is that this administration is moving fast. We have a bunch of disruptors like us. We are wanting to activate the private sector, and we're bringing that private sector thinking into the federal government, and hopefully you feel that change. And all of us have spent time allocating capital in the private sector. So we know what it takes to bring things to market. We know what it means to have sustainable economic models. We know what it means to commercialize. And so what we did was we basically wanted to create a map that all of us can collectively follow to bring these things to market. And that is what the Pathways to Commercial Liftoff is. And we did a ton of analysis, which you can find at liftoff.energy.gov. I'm not letting you guys leave the room until we all chant liftoff.energy.gov, so I'm just letting you know. And we laid out a map on all the technology, regulatory, market, technical hurdles that we have to overcome to bring these things into the hands of Americans. The first wave was released 6 months ago. We have hydrogen, nuclear, carbon management, long-duration energy storage. The last few weeks, we released our second wave, which is virtual power plants, industrial decarbonization, chemicals refining, and cement. All of these are now available at liftoff.energy.gov, thank you. And I will tell you, I have no favorite. It's like playing Pokemon, you gotta collect them all. We need all of them. We all gotta play Pokemon, and we all gotta get them all. And these 8 reports weigh in at 715 pages, but DOE is so awesome and fabulous. We created a very handy dandy one-pager, which you can find outside, which gives you the cheat sheet of everything you need to know in those 715 pages. So if you don't have time to read the in-depth analysis, which you really should if you're in this, because it's telling you how to make money and what we have to do, the cost curves and so forth, you can at least start with this. And this is our one-page hymn book that we can go after. And in terms of these reports, one thing I want to share with you is they are living. What do I mean by that? You're not going to go find the 2023 report on hydrogen because it doesn't exist. We have liftoff.energy.gov, which shares what the vision is to get hydrogen and other technologies to the market. And the reason why you won't find a 2023 report is because anyone who does commercialization knows it's a game of chutes and ladders. You can start thinking you're doing well, but what I know right now is actually wrong 6 months from now. And I have to update the assumptions as we try to bring things to market. Now, that is a revolutionary thing for the federal government to say we don't have static reports, we don't have static assumptions. We have not been trying to create a pathway which all of us are going to follow the next 15 years, which is static, because anyone who's invested in any company knows that a company will tell you one thing, and 3 years later, they've pivoted because the assumptions were completely different, and that is what these liftoff reports are. In terms of how we're using them here at the Department of Energy, they've been used to inform all of our funding opportunity announcements. We have program offices like Nuclear Energy says this is our strategy Bible, and it's also inspiration for new programs in order to activate that $30 trillion we have out in the private sector. So for example, at the Office of Technology Transitions, we have a technology commercialization fund, which we partner with many other program offices. And what we do is we really try to find areas that we found in liftoff reports and work on them as an ecosystem. So for example, with OSED, we have $16 million to stand up a consortia for LDES and hydrogen to understand what changes need to be made to drive adoption, such as standards that have to be adopted. With FECM, we have $15 million to look at carbon dioxide removal technology, including direct air capture. And we're trying to create the monitoring, reporting, and validation tools the entire ecosystem needs so we actually can get to liftoff. And we haven't forgotten the startups. We have an energy program for innovation clusters where we have funded 54 incubators across the nation. And we also launched the voucher program for $28 million where you can get in-kind support to drive technology to market. So oftentimes there's underrepresented communities or places which really need that third-party support and can't afford it. Well, we created a voucher program so they can get the support that they need. I'm also excited in terms of how creative we're being. So many of you who are close to hydrogen know that a few weeks ago we announced an RFP for hydrogen demand, where we have $500 million to $1 billion being used to actually catalyze demand. Because with commercialization, there's a chicken and an egg, where you can't get the demand offtake agreements until the supply chain is set up. You can't get the supply chain set up until you get the offtake agreements. So really this demand RFP is to catalyze that because we don't have time, guys, right? We really don't, and we can't have everyone sitting there playing chicken and egg. And there's more that we're doing here at OTT. You may have seen a lot of prizes coming out the door because FOAs can be very difficult to navigate. So we've been really trying hard to help the department with getting more prizes out the door. We also have this PIA that we've created, Energy Works, which is how the voucher program is happening. And for many of you who are excited about foundations, Karen Skelton just led a fabulous panel on that. We are looking at establishing the Foundation for Energy Security and Innovation, which was authorized in the CHIPS and Science Act, so FESI. And this is a way to bring philanthropic dollars in to a foundation, which will be the 13th federal agency foundation. And so in closing, what I want to say is commercialization doesn't happen on its own. It's government-enabled, private sector-driven, and we're not sleeping here at DOE, so we really are doing our part. And now it's your turn. It's your turn to deploy capital. You need to have the courage and the vision to move beyond quarterly earnings. I'm going to say that again. You guys need to have the courage and the vision to move beyond quarterly earnings. You have to own investments that are beyond your horizon as a CEO. Because we need this, our kids need this. And if we don't invest quickly, we're gonna miss the boat. And I'm not getting any younger, you guys aren't either, and our kids are getting older really quick. So please deploy your capital. So join us as you move your $30 trillion. Hopefully the Pathways to Commercial Liftoff, which you can all find at, oh, louder, I can't hear you. Liftoff.energy.gov will help guide the way, and hope that you guys all join us in this journey. Thank you.